The spring of 1892 arrived gently in the rolling hills of Yorkshire, England, where endless green meadows stretched beneath wide gray skies, and narrow country lanes connected quiet villages that had changed very little for generations. In one such village, called Willowbrook, people measured time not by clocks, but by church bells, market days, and the changing seasons. It was a place where nearly everyone knew everyone else. Doors were rarely locked. Children played safely along the village stream. Neighbors greeted one another by name. Life was simple, predictable, peaceful. Among the villagers lived a man named Arthur Bennett. Arthur was 33 years old, a respected blacksmith whose family had worked iron for nearly 80 years. Every morning before sunrise, the warm glow of his forge became one of the first lights to appear in Willowbrook. The rhythmic sound of hammer striking hot steel echoed across the village long before most people had finished breakfast. Arthur loved his work, not because it made him wealthy, it certainly did not, but because every horseshoe, gate, farming tool, and iron railing he created would remain useful for years, sometimes decades. He believed that honest work gave life meaning, and honesty was something Arthur valued above everything. Except one person. Her name was Clara Bennett. Arthur first met Clara 5 years earlier during a summer fair held beside the old river. She had been helping her widowed mother sell homemade bread and fruit pies. Arthur had walked past the stall, intending to buy only one loaf of bread. Instead, he spent nearly an hour talking to Clara. Later, his closest friend joked that Arthur had returned home carrying bread he never remembered purchasing. Arthur simply laughed. "I forgot why I went there." Within 2 years, they were married. It had not been an extravagant wedding. A small stone church, fresh flowers gathered from nearby fields, homemade food prepared by relatives, a violin played softly while neighbors danced beneath strings of lanterns. It was exactly the sort of wedding people in Willowbrook remembered fondly. Simple, warm, full of genuine happiness. Arthur often said that marrying Clara had been the greatest achievement of his life. Not building his successful blacksmith shop, not buying their cottage, not earning the respect of the village. Marrying Clara, that was what mattered most. Every decision Arthur made afterward centered on one goal: giving his wife the happiest life he possibly could. When business improved, he renovated their small cottage. He built Clara a beautiful wooden porch where she could enjoy morning tea. He even planted lavender beneath the bedroom window because she once mentioned loving its fragrance. He even forged decorative iron roses along the front gate with his own hands. People admired them whenever they walked past. "Those are beautiful," visitors often said. Arthur always smiled. They're for Clara. Nothing made him happier than seeing her smile. Clara truly loved Arthur. At least, she believed she did. He was gentle, patient, dependable. He never shouted, never raised a hand in anger, never returned home without asking how her day had been. If Clara admired something in a shop window, Arthur quietly saved until he could afford it. If she became ill, he remained beside her bed throughout the night. When winter storms covered the roads with snow, Arthur carried extra firewood to elderly neighbors before thinking about himself. The villagers admired him. Many secretly wished their own husbands possessed even half his kindness. Among those who admired Arthur most was his childhood friend, William Carter. William and Arthur had grown up together. They attended the same village school, learned to fish in the same river, shared countless adventures as boys. Even as adults, their friendship remained remarkably strong. Unlike Arthur, however, William had chosen a different path. Instead of becoming a craftsman, he entered the growing railway business. His work required frequent travel between York, Leeds, and London. Over the years, William became considerably wealthier than most people in Willowbrook. He wore finely tailored suits, owned an elegant black carriage, stayed in expensive hotels during business trips. Yet despite his success, he never forgot Arthur. Whenever he returned to Willowbrook, his first visit was almost always the Bennett cottage. Arthur welcomed him like a brother. "You're staying for supper," Arthur insisted whenever William arrived. William rarely argued. Those evenings became somewhat of a tradition. The three of them would sit around the fireplace long after supper had ended. Arthur spoke enthusiastically about village life. William shared fascinating stories from London. Clara listened with quiet curiosity. She had never traveled farther than York. William described grand hotels, electric streetlights, busy train stations, fine restaurants, elegant theaters, crowded city streets filled with opportunities. To Clara, they sounded almost magical. Arthur noticed the excitement in her eyes. One evening he smiled and said, "Perhaps one day we'll visit London ourselves." Clara laughed softly. "I'd like that." Arthur reached across the table and gently held her hand. "Then we'll make it happen." William watched silently. There was nothing improper about that evening, nothing unusual, nothing anyone would remember. Yet later, looking back years afterwards, William would recall that it was the first time he had noticed something quietly changing, not in Arthur, not even in himself, but in the way Clara listened whenever someone spoke about a life beyond Willowbrook, a life filled with excitement, adventure, luxury, dreams much larger than the peaceful little village she called home. At the time, no one believed those dreams could ever become dangerous, least of all, Arthur Bennett. Because if there was one thing Arthur never doubted, was the love his wife had for him and the loyalty of the man he proudly called his best friend. Summer arrived in Willowbrook with long, golden evenings and fields of wildflowers stretching across the Yorkshire countryside. The village seemed more beautiful than ever. Farmers worked from sunrise until dusk. Children chased butterflies along the riverbanks. The old church stood peacefully above the village, its bell marking the passing hours just as it had for generations. For Arthur Bennett, life could not have felt more complete. Business at the blacksmith shop had grown steadily. Travelers from neighboring villages now brought wagons, gates, and farming tools for Arthur to repair. His reputation had spread far beyond Willowbrook. People often said there wasn't more honest blacksmith in Yorkshire. Arthur accepted every compliment with the same humble smile. "I'm simply doing my work," he always replied. Every extra pound he earned was carefully saved, not for himself, but for Clara. He dreamed of expanding their little cottage one day, perhaps adding another bedroom, perhaps building a beautiful glass conservatory where Clara could grow flowers throughout the winter. One evening, after finishing work, Arthur surprised her with a small gift. Wrapped inside brown paper was a delicate silver necklace. Nothing extravagant, just simple, elegant. Exactly the kind of jewelry Clara admired. She smiled warmly. "You didn't have to do this." Arthur laughed softly. "I wanted to. If something reminds me of you, I usually bring it home." She hugged him tightly. For a moment, everything felt perfect. A few days later, William Carter returned from London. His polished carriage rolled slowly into Willowbrook, attracting curious glances from children playing in the streets. He stepped down wearing an expensive navy coat and carrying 2 leather suitcases. Arthur greeted him with a broad smile. "William, my old friend." The two men embraced warmly. "It has been nearly 3 months," William laughed. "Business never gives me enough time." Arthur insisted that William stay at their cottage instead of the village inn. As always, William accepted. That evening, the three shared supper together. William described the changes taking place in London: new railway stations, luxury hotels, busy markets filled with goods from around the world. Clara listened with fascination. "You've truly seen all of that?" she asked. William smiled. "Much more." He reached into one of his bags. "I brought something." Inside was a beautifully illustrated travel book, filled with paintings of London, Paris, and Venice. Clara carefully turned each page. Wide boulevards, grand palaces, elegant ladies wearing fashionable dresses, restaurants lit with hundreds of lamps. She had never imagined such places. Arthur watched her excitement with affection. "You'll wear the pages out," he joked. Clara laughed. "I just can't believe places like these exist." William smiled quietly. "They do, and they're even more beautiful in person." That night, after William retired to the guest room, Clara remained awake reading the travel book beside the fire. Arthur noticed. "You really like it." She nodded. "I never realized how big the world is." Arthur placed another log on the fire. "Perhaps next spring," he said thoughtfully, "we could finally take that trip to London." Clara looked up. "Really?" Arthur smiled. "I've been saving. I wanted it to be a surprise." Her face brightened. "You've already been saving?" "Of course," he answered. "You've always wanted to see the city." She reached over and held his hand. "Thank you." Arthur felt happier than ever. He had no idea someone else had quietly noticed that conversation. The following morning, Arthur left before sunrise to repair farm equipment at a neighboring estate. He would not return until evening. Before leaving, he smiled at William. "Keep Clara company if she gets bored." William laughed. "I think we can manage that." Arthur climbed into his wagon and disappeared down the country road. The cottage suddenly felt unusually quiet. Clara spent most of the morning tending the garden. William wandered outside carrying 2 cups of tea. "I thought you might like one." She smiled. "Thank you." They sat together on the wooden porch. For a while, neither spoke. Eventually, William nodded towards the travel book resting beside her chair. "Finished already?" She laughed softly. "I've read it twice." "You really want to travel," he observed. She looked towards the distant hills. "I've always wondered what life is like beyond Willowbrook." William nodded slowly. "The world is much larger than this village." Clara sighed. "Arthur works so hard." "I know. I sometimes wish he worked a little less." William looked at her carefully. "Have you ever told him that?" She smiled sadly. "He'd only work harder. He thinks giving me a better future means earning more money." She paused before quietly adding, "But sometimes I'd rather have more time with him." William remained silent. For the first time, he realized that Clara wasn't unhappy because Arthur lacked kindness. She was lonely. That afternoon, they walked through the village together to buy fresh bread from the bakery. Several neighbors waved as they passed. No one thought anything of it. William was Arthur's oldest friend. Everyone trusted him. As they crossed the old stone bridge, Clara looked at the slow-moving river below. "Arthur is the kindest man I've ever known," she said quietly. William nodded. "He truly is." She smiled sadly. "I just wish life would slow down enough to notice that I'm beginning to feel alone." William remained silent. But those words stayed with him long after the conversation ended, long after they returned home, long after Arthur came back that evening with tired hands and another smile for his wife. Neither William nor Clara realized that a single conversation beside a quiet river had planted the first small seed of something that would one day destroy all 3 of their lives. The days passed quietly in Willowbrook. Summer settled gently across the countryside, filling the air with the scent of freshly cut hay and blooming wildflowers. The village remained peaceful, almost untouched by the busy world beyond its borders. Every morning followed the same familiar rhythm. Arthur Bennett rose before sunrise. He lit the forge. The sound of iron striking steel echoed through the village as it always had. By the time most families were eating breakfast, Arthur had already been working for hours. His customers admired him more than ever. Some traveled nearly 20 miles just to have Arthur repair a broken wagon wheel or forge a custom iron gate. Business was flourishing. Arthur believed he was building a wonderful future. He simply didn't realize how much of the present he was quietly sacrificing. William Carter remained in Willowbrook longer than usual. His railway business had been delayed, giving him nearly 3 weeks in the village. Arthur was delighted. "It feels like old times," he often said. William smiled politely, but inside, he had begun noticing Clara in a different way. Not because she was beautiful, he had always known she was. It was something else. Her quiet intelligence, her curiosity about the world, the way her eyes lit up whenever someone spoke about places beyond Yorkshire. Those little moments stayed in his thoughts longer than they should have. One warm afternoon, Arthur received an urgent request from a wealthy farmer whose harvesting machine had broken. "I'll be gone most of the day," Arthur told Clara while putting on his coat. "I'll leave supper in your hands." She smiled. "As always." Arthur turned toward William. "Would you mind keeping Clara company if she decides to walk into the village?" William laughed. "You trust me far too much." Arthur placed a friendly hand on his shoulder. "You're like my brother. I'd trust you with my life." William forced a smile. Those words echoed painfully inside his mind after Arthur left. Later that afternoon, Clara decided to visit the village library. William offered to walk with her. The library occupied only a single room inside an old stone building beside the church. Shelves lined every wall. Most of the books had been donated by wealthy families over several generations. Clara wandered slowly through the history section. William noticed a book resting in her hands. "Travels Across Europe." "You still dream about traveling," he said. She smiled softly. "I suppose I always will." William hesitated before asking, "If nothing held you here, where would you go first?" Clara thought for a moment. "Paris, then Venice, then anywhere I've never seen." She laughed quietly. "I know, it's only a dream." William looked directly at her. Dreams have a strange way of becoming real. Their eyes met for only a second, then both quickly looked away. Neither understood why the moment felt different. As they walked home through the countryside, dark clouds gathered overhead. Within minutes, heavy rain began falling. They hurried toward an abandoned stone barn beside the road. Inside, rain drummed loudly against the old roof. The air smelled of wet wood and fresh earth. For several minutes, they simply listened to the storm. Finally, Clara spoke. "I sometimes feel guilty." "For what?" She sighed. "Arthur works every day for me. He gives me everything. And yet—" She stopped. William waited quietly. "And yet, I still feel something is missing." The words surprised even her. William answered carefully, "That doesn't make you a bad person." She shook her head. "Maybe it does." Another long silence filled the barn. The rain continued falling outside. Then William quietly admitted something he had promised himself he would never say. "I think about you more than I should." Clara froze. The world outside seemed to disappear. Only the sound of rain remained. She looked at him in disbelief. "You shouldn't have said that." "I know. I've tried not to," William replied. "But lying would be worse." Clara turned toward the doorway. "I love Arthur." "I believe you." She whispered, "He's never done anything wrong." "I know." "Then why are we having this conversation?" William had no answer, because he was asking himself exactly the same question. The rain eventually stopped. Without another word, they walked back toward the village. Several feet separated them the entire journey home. That evening, Arthur returned carrying Clara's favorite apple pie from the bakery. "I thought this would make you smile," he said happily. Clara hugged him, a little longer than usual. Arthur smiled. "What was that for?" She looked into his kind eyes. "For being you." Arthur laughed softly. "I don't understand." "You don't need to," she answered. But later that night, while Arthur slept peacefully beside her, Clara lay awake staring at the ceiling. William's words repeated again and again inside her mind. "I think about you more than I should." She knew she should forget the conversation. She knew she should never allow it to happen again. She promised herself it had been a mistake, a single moment, nothing more. But somewhere deep inside her heart, a door had quietly opened, and neither she nor William yet realized how impossible it would become to close it again. The rainstorm faded, but the memory of that afternoon refused to disappear. For the next several days, Clara avoided being alone with William. Whenever he visited the cottage, she found small reasons to leave the room. She spent longer hours in the garden. She volunteered to help at the church. Sometimes she walked alone beside the river, simply to clear her thoughts. She kept repeating the same sentence to herself. It was only one conversation. Nothing happened. Yet the more she tried to forget, the more often she remembered. Meanwhile, Arthur noticed none of it. His workshop had become busier than ever. A large estate outside York had ordered new iron gates, fences, and decorative railings. The commission would take months to complete. It was the biggest opportunity of Arthur's career. When he told Clara the news, his face glowed with excitement. "If everything goes well, we'll finally have enough money to travel." Clara smiled gently. "That's wonderful." Arthur walked across the room and wrapped his arms around her. "I've never forgotten your dream. I still want to take you to London, and someday to Paris." Tears almost filled Clara's eyes. Arthur had remembered every dream she had ever shared, even while working 12-hour days. That realization filled her with guilt. A week later, William prepared to return to London. Arthur insisted on hosting one final supper before he left. The evening felt warm and familiar. The three laughed over old childhood stories. Arthur recalled the time he and William had fallen into the river while trying to catch fish. Clara laughed harder than she had in weeks. For a moment, everything felt normal again. After supper, Arthur stepped outside to bring more firewood into the house. William and Clara remained alone for only a minute. Neither spoke. Finally, William broke the silence. "I'm leaving tomorrow." "I know," Clara answered quietly. "I think that's for the best." He nodded. "So do I." Arthur returned carrying an armful of logs. "I'll miss you, old friend," he said cheerfully. William smiled. "I'll be back before Christmas." Arthur laughed. "You always are." The following morning, William's carriage disappeared down the village road. Clara stood at the window watching until it was no longer visible. She wasn't sure why. Perhaps because she felt relieved, or perhaps because she felt something else entirely. Life slowly returned to its ordinary rhythm. Summer became autumn. Arthur spent nearly every day working. He often left before sunrise and returned after sunset. His hands grew rougher, his shoulders more tired, but he never complained. Every evening, he asked Clara the same question. "How was your day?" She always smiled. It was good. He believed her. One afternoon, Arthur surprised Clara with exciting news. The estate owner invited us to York next month. She looked up with genuine excitement. "Really?" "We'll stay 2 nights. I've already paid for everything." Clara hugged him. "Thank you." Arthur smiled. "I told you I'd keep my promise." The trip to York was beautiful. They walked through busy markets, visited elegant shops, shared meals in charming restaurants. Arthur watched Clara admire beautiful dresses displayed in the windows. Without telling her, he quietly returned later and purchased her favorite one. When he presented it that evening, Clara was speechless. "You remembered?" Arthur smiled. "I remember everything that makes you happy." For a brief moment, Clara wondered if she had imagined all the loneliness she had felt. Perhaps this was enough. Perhaps love really was enough. She silently promised herself she would forget William forever. But fate had other plans. 2 weeks after returning from York, a letter arrived. Arthur opened it while eating breakfast. His face immediately brightened. "It's from William." Clara felt her heart skip. Arthur laughed as he read. "He'll be in Willowbrook next week. He says his railway company is opening a new line nearby. He'll be staying for several months." Arthur looked at Clara with excitement. "Isn't that wonderful?" She forced a smile. "Yes, it is." But inside, a feeling she could not explain slowly settled over her heart. She had spent months trying to close the door that had opened during that rainy afternoon. Now, the person standing on the other side of that door was coming back. The following Tuesday, William Carter returned to Willowbrook. His carriage rolled slowly across the old stone bridge just after noon, just as it had many times before. Arthur was the first to greet him. "My friend," Arthur called with a wide smile. William stepped down from the carriage and embraced him warmly. "It's good to be home," Arthur laughed. "You'll stay with us, of course." William hesitated for only a moment. "If you're certain." "I'm always certain," Arthur replied. "Our home is your home." Standing in the doorway, Clara watched the reunion in silence. William briefly met her eyes. Neither smiled, neither spoke. Yet both remembered the conversation inside the old barn months earlier. That evening, supper felt strangely different. Arthur happily described his new contracts and future plans. William listened politely. Clara spoke very little. Arthur noticed. "Are you feeling all right?" She quickly nodded. "Just a little tired." Arthur reached across the table. "You've been working too hard around the house. We should hire someone to help." She smiled weakly. "I'll be fine." Arthur believed her, as always. The next morning, Arthur left before sunrise for a large estate nearly 20 miles away. Before climbing into his wagon, he turned to William. "If Clara needs anything while I'm gone, you know where to find me." William smiled. "I'll look after everything." Arthur laughed. "I knew I could count on you." As the wagon disappeared down the road, an uncomfortable silence settled over the cottage. For several hours, Clara remained busy cleaning and baking. William spent his time reading in the sitting room. Neither tried to start a conversation. Eventually, Clara walked into the garden carrying a basket of freshly picked roses. William followed a few minutes later. "They're beautiful," he said. She nodded. "Arthur planted them. He said he wanted the garden to bloom every spring." William looked at the flowers. "He really does love you." Clara smiled sadly. "I've never doubted that." "So why do you look unhappy?" She remained silent. The question lingered in the warm afternoon air. Finally, she answered, "Because love isn't always the same as feeling understood." William listened carefully. "He spends every hour building a future," she continued, "but sometimes I wish he'd simply sit beside me, drink tea, talk, watch the sunset." She looked toward the distant hills. "I don't need expensive gifts. I just miss my husband." William quietly replied, "I think he misses you too, but he doesn't know it yet." That sentence stayed with Clara for the rest of the day. That evening, Arthur returned exhausted. His hands were covered in soot. His clothes smelled of smoke and iron. Yet, despite his exhaustion, he carried a small paper package. "For you," he said with a smile. Clara opened it. Inside were delicate chocolate sweets imported from London. "You remembered," she whispered. Arthur laughed softly. "I mentioned them months ago. I finally found some." She hugged him tightly. William quietly looked away. For the first time, he felt guilty. Not because Arthur trusted him, but because Arthur truly loved his wife with every part of his heart. Later that night, William couldn't sleep. He walked outside beneath the moonlight. The village was silent. Only the sound of crickets echoed across the fields. A few minutes later, the cottage door opened behind him. Clara stepped outside wearing a shawl over her shoulders. "I couldn't sleep either," she said quietly. William nodded. They stood several feet apart. Neither intended to stay long, but minutes slowly turned to an hour. They talked about childhood dreams, books, travel, music, the future. Conversations that Arthur rarely had time for anymore. Not because Arthur didn't care, because he was always working. As the moon climbed higher into the sky, Clara laughed at one of William's stories. It had been weeks since she had laughed so freely. William noticed. "I like seeing you smile." She looked down. "You shouldn't say things like that." "I know," he answered softly, "but they're true." Silence returned. Then, without thinking, William gently reached for her hand. For only a single second, Clara didn't pull away. The moment felt both peaceful and terribly wrong. Suddenly, footsteps echoed from inside the cottage. Arthur had awakened to get a glass of water. William immediately stepped back. Clara quickly folded her hands behind her back. Arthur opened the door and smiled sleepily. "There you both are. I wondered where everyone had gone." Neither Clara nor William spoke. Arthur laughed. "I'm glad. You two have become good friends." The words struck them both like a knife. Arthur looked at the stars above the village. "I'm lucky," he said quietly. "The two people I trust most in the world, standing right here beside me." Arthur returned inside, completely unaware of what had almost happened. Outside, neither Clara nor William moved. Both understood one painful truth. They had crossed a line that could never truly be uncrossed. And for the first time, they were no longer simply hiding feelings. They were hiding the beginning of a betrayal. The morning after that quiet conversation beneath the stars, Willowbrook awoke exactly as it always had. The church bell rang at 6, farmers led horses into the fields, children hurried toward the small village school. Nothing appeared different, yet inside the Bennett cottage, everything had changed. Clara could no longer look Arthur in the eyes without remembering what had happened the previous night. William felt the same. They had done nothing that the village would consider proof of betrayal. No kiss, no declaration of love, only a hand held for a single moment. Yet both knew that the real betrayal had begun long before that. It had begun inside their hearts. Arthur noticed only one thing. Clara had become unusually quiet. Over breakfast, he smiled at her. "You've hardly touched your tea." "I'm just tired," she answered. Arthur reached across the table and gently rested his hand on hers. "You've seemed tired for weeks. When this commission is finished, I'm taking time off." She looked surprised. "You are?" He nodded confidently. "I've decided work can wait. I've been so busy building a future that I may have forgotten to enjoy the present." Those words pierced Clara's heart. For months, she had wished Arthur would say exactly that. Now, he finally had, but she wasn't sure whether it had come too late. That afternoon, Arthur traveled to York to purchase iron supplies. He would remain away until the following morning. Before leaving, he smiled at William. "Keep an eye on the house." William forced a smile. "You know I will." As Arthur disappeared down the road, an uneasy silence filled the cottage. Hours passed. Neither Clara nor William attempted to see each other. Each understood the danger of being alone together. As evening approached, heavy rain began falling. The old roof rattled beneath the storm. A sudden flash of lightning extinguished several lamps inside the house. Clara struggled to relight them. William quietly entered carrying another lantern. "Here." She thanked him without meeting his eyes. The rain continued. Neither spoke. Finally, William sighed. "I think I should leave tomorrow." Clara looked up. "What?" "I've stayed too long. This isn't right." She nodded slowly. "No, it isn't." William stared into the fire. "I've spent months convincing myself these feelings would disappear. They haven't." Clara whispered, "Neither have mine." The room became completely silent. Those were the words neither of them had intended to say, yet once spoken, they could never be taken back. William looked at her carefully. "I never wanted this. I know. I would never intentionally hurt Arthur. I know. He saved my life once." Clara looked surprised. "He never told you." William smiled sadly. "When we were boys, I fell through the frozen river. Arthur pulled me out. If he hadn't, I wouldn't be standing here today." The guilt became almost unbearable. "He trusts us," Clara whispered, "completely." William nodded. "And we're repaying that trust with lies." For several long moments, both remained silent. Then William stood. "I'll leave in the morning. This ends here." Clara wanted to agree. She truly did. Instead, she quietly asked, "What if it doesn't?" William slowly turned toward her. "What do you mean?" She looked down on the wooden floor. "What if, even after you leave, I still think about you?" William closed his eyes. Every sensible part of him knew what he should say. "Forget me. Love your husband. Save your marriage." Instead, he walked closer. Only a few feet separated them now. "I think about you every day," he admitted. The words hung in the air. Outside, thunder rolled across the valley. Inside, the fire crackled softly. Then, almost without realizing how it happened, William gently placed his hand against Clara's cheek. She closed her eyes. For one brief moment, neither of them remembered Arthur. Neither remembered Willowbrook, neither remembered the promises they had made. Then William leaned forward and kissed her, only for a few seconds. When they stepped apart, neither looked happy, neither smiled. There was no excitement, only shock, guilt, and fear. Clara immediately stepped backward. "What have we done?" she whispered. William couldn't answer, because there was no answer that could undo the moment. Just then, a loud knock echoed through the front door. Both froze. Another knock followed. William quickly stepped away. Clara straightened her dress and hurried to answer it. Standing outside in the rain was Arthur Bennett.
He smiled apologetically. "I forgot the account book. I had to turn back." Clara felt the color drain from her face. For a single terrifying second, she believed he knew everything. Arthur walked inside, completely unaware of what had happened only moments earlier. He found William standing quietly beside the fireplace. "You're still awake?" he asked cheerfully. William nodded. "We were waiting for the storm to pass." Arthur laughed. "Good. I'm glad Clara wasn't alone." He picked up the forgotten account book from the table, then looked at the two people he loved and trusted most in the world. "I don't know what I'd do without either of you." Those words echoed through the silent room. Neither Clara nor William could find the courage to answer.
The storm passed before dawn. By sunrise, Willowbrook looked peaceful once again. Rainwater glistened on the cobblestone streets. Birds sang from the old oak trees, and the first rays of sunlight warmed the rooftops as though nothing unusual had happened. But inside the Bennett cottage, 3 lives had quietly begun moving toward a future none of them could yet imagine. Arthur left early for work, humming softly as he loaded iron bars into his wagon. Before climbing aboard, he kissed Clara on the forehead. "I'll be home before supper." She forced a smile. "I'll be waiting." Arthur turned toward William. "Thank you for staying during the storm." William nodded. "It was no trouble." Arthur smiled warmly. "I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You're the finest friend a man could ask for." Those words stayed with William long after Arthur disappeared down the road. For several minutes, neither of them spoke. Finally, William broke the silence. "I should leave today." Clara looked at him. "Maybe that's best." He nodded. "If I stay, this will only become worse." She quietly agreed, yet neither of them moved. Instead, they sat on the porch drinking tea in complete silence. The silence itself seemed easier than pretending nothing had changed. Later that afternoon, William packed his suitcase. Arthur returned just as he was carrying it to the carriage. "So soon?" Arthur asked. William smiled. "Business won't wait forever." Arthur sighed. "I was hoping you'd stay another week." "I've already imposed enough," William replied. Arthur embraced him tightly. "Come back soon." "I will," William answered. Then he looked briefly toward Clara. Only for a second, no one else would have noticed. Arthur certainly didn't. The carriage rolled away. Clara stood at the gate watching until it disappeared beyond the hill. She felt as though something inside her had been pulled away with it. For the next several weeks, life slowly returned to normal, or at least, it appeared to. Arthur worked harder than ever. His commission for the York estate demanded nearly every hour of his day. Sometimes he returned home after dark. Other nights he slept at the estate to finish urgent work. Clara spent more and more evenings alone. At first, she welcomed the quiet. Then, the loneliness returned. One afternoon, while cleaning the sitting room, she discovered a book William had accidentally left behind. Inside the front cover rested a folded piece of paper. She hesitated before opening it. It wasn't meant to be a letter. Perhaps it had simply been used as a bookmark. Yet written across the page were a few lines in William's handwriting. "Some people enter our lives too late, and that is the greatest tragedy of all." There was no name, no signature, nothing else. Still, Clara immediately understood. She carefully folded the note and slipped it into the pocket of her dress. She told herself she would throw it away later. She never did. Days turned into months.
Then, one crisp autumn morning, another letter arrived from London. Arthur opened it while eating breakfast. A broad smile spread across his face. "Wonderful news!" he exclaimed. Clara looked up nervously. "What is it?" "William has been promoted. He'll be managing railway construction across Yorkshire." Arthur laughed proudly. "I always knew he'd do well." He continued reading. "He's traveling constantly now, but he'll be passing through Willowbrook quite often." Arthur looked at Clara. "We'll finally see more of him." She lowered her eyes. "I suppose so." Arthur noticed her hesitation. "You never did tell me. What do you think of William?" Her heart began to race. She answered carefully. "He's kind." Arthur nodded. "I trust him more than anyone." He smiled. "If anything ever happened to me, I know he'd look after you." Clara nearly dropped her teacup. Arthur noticed her shaking hands. "Are you all right?" She quickly nodded. "Just tired." Arthur stood and gently kissed her forehead. "You worry too much." Then he left for the workshop. Clara remained alone at the table. Arthur's words echoed through the silent cottage. "If anything ever happened to me, I know he'd look after you." She buried her face in her hands. The guilt had become unbearable. That evening, as the sun disappeared behind the Yorkshire hills, a messenger arrived carrying another envelope. This one was addressed only to Clara. There was no return address. She already knew who had written it. She waited until Arthur had fallen asleep. Then she quietly unfolded the letter beneath the light of a single candle. The first sentence made her heart stop. "I have tried to forget you, but I have failed."
The candle burned low as Clara unfolded William's letter. Outside, the village slept peacefully. Only the ticking of the old grandfather clock filled the cottage. Her hands trembled as she began to read. "Clara, I promised myself I would never write to you. I believed distance would end what should never have begun. Instead, every mile has only made your memory stronger." She closed her eyes for a moment, then continued. "I have traveled through London, York, Manchester, and Leeds. I have met hundreds of people. Yet every evening, my thoughts return to one quiet cottage in Willowbrook, and to you." A tear rolled down Clara's cheek. She knew she should stop reading. Instead, she turned the page. "Arthur is the finest man I have ever known. That truth makes this even more painful. If he were cruel, dishonest, or unkind, perhaps I could forgive myself. But he is none of those things. He is better than either of us deserve." Those words struck Clara harder than anything else. William understood exactly what Arthur had lost, even before he had lost it. The letter ended with one final sentence. "Please burn this letter after reading it." Clara folded the paper carefully. She looked toward the fireplace. The flames danced quietly. She walked closer, raised the letter above the fire. Then she lowered her hand. She couldn't burn it. Instead, she hid it beneath the loose floorboard beside the bedroom window. The next morning, Arthur noticed she looked exhausted. "You didn't sleep," he said gently. "I couldn't," she admitted. Arthur smiled kindly. "I've been thinking." She looked at him. "When the York contract is finished, I'm closing the workshop for 2 weeks." Her eyes widened. "You are?" He nodded. "No work, no customers, no iron. Just you and me. We'll finally take that holiday." Clara forced a smile. "That sounds wonderful." Arthur laughed.
I knew you'd like the idea." He had no idea she was already carrying a secret heavy enough to destroy everything. A week later, William returned unexpectedly, not to visit the Bennett cottage, only to inspect the progress of a nearby railway bridge. Arthur heard about it immediately. "William's in town," he said happily. "I'll invite him for supper." Clara's heart began pounding. Before she could answer, Arthur had already walked to the railway office. That evening, William arrived. The three sat around the same dining table where they had shared so many happy meals, yet nothing felt the same. Arthur spoke enthusiastically about his future plans. William answered politely. Clara barely touched her food. Halfway through supper, suddenly Arthur stood up. "I almost forgot." He walked upstairs. "I have something to show both of you." The moment he disappeared, silence filled the room. William quietly whispered, "I shouldn't have come." Clara answered just as softly, "No, you shouldn't." He looked at her. "Did you burn my letter?" She slowly shook her head. "No." William closed his eyes. "I was afraid you'd say that." Footsteps echoed from upstairs. Arthur returned carrying a rolled drawing. He spread it proudly across the table. "What do you think?" It was a detailed plan for a larger house, a beautiful workshop, a garden twice the size of their current one, and near the back, a nursery. Arthur smiled like an excited child. "I've been saving for years. I want us to start a family." Clara stared at the drawing. She couldn't speak. William quietly looked away. Arthur misunderstood the silence. "You don't like it?" he asked. Clara's eyes filled with tears. "No, it's beautiful." Arthur reached for her hand. "I've always believed no amount of money matters unless we have people to share it with." William felt a sharp pain in his chest. For the first time, he wondered whether leaving Willowbrook forever might be the only honorable thing left to do. Later that night, after supper ended, William prepared to leave. Arthur walked him to the gate. "I'll see you next month," Arthur said. William hesitated, then quietly replied, "I'm not sure." Arthur laughed. "What does that mean?" William forced a smile. Perhaps it's time I accepted a position overseas." Arthur looked surprised. "So far away?" William nodded. "It may be for the best." Arthur placed a hand on his shoulder. "You'll always have a home here." William looked back toward the cottage. A single light still burned in the bedroom window. He knew Clara was standing there, watching. Without another word, he climbed into his carriage. As the horses disappeared into the darkness, neither William nor Clara realized that fate had already set another plan into motion, because the following morning, Arthur received an offer that would change all three of their lives forever.
The following morning, Arthur Bennett arrived at his blacksmith shop before the sun had fully risen. As he unlocked the heavy wooden doors, he noticed a well-dressed gentleman waiting outside. The stranger removed his hat politely. "Mr. Arthur Bennett?" Arthur nodded. "Yes. My name is Henry Wallace. I represent the Ashford Railway Company." Arthur invited him inside. The man looked around the workshop with admiration. "I've heard you're the finest blacksmith in Yorkshire." Arthur smiled modestly. "I simply do my best." Mr. Wallace placed several rolled documents onto the workbench. "Our company is expanding. We're building railway stations, bridges, and iron fences across northern England." He paused before adding, "We'd like you to become our chief iron contractor." Arthur stared at the papers in disbelief. The contract was enormous.
larger than anything he had ever imagined. The work would last nearly 2 years. The payment could change his life forever. Arthur looked up. There must be a mistake. There isn't, the gentleman smiled. Your reputation reached our directors months ago. Arthur spent the next hour reviewing every page. When Mr. Wallace finally left, Arthur remained standing in the silent workshop. His hands trembled with excitement. Everything he had dreamed of, the larger house, the family, financial security, it suddenly seemed possible. That evening, Arthur rushed home carrying the contract. "Clara!" he called before even closing the front door. She hurried into the hallway. "What happened?" He embraced her tightly. "We did it!" She looked confused. "What do you mean?" He spread the contract across the dining table. "We'll never have to worry about money again." Her eyes widened as she read. "This is incredible." Arthur laughed. "I know. I'll have to travel more, but only for a little while. When it's finished, we'll have the future we've always dreamed about." Clara smiled. Yet inside, her heart grew heavier. Arthur was giving everything he had to build their future. At the exact same time, she was beginning to question whether she would still be there to share it. A few days later, another letter arrived. This time, Arthur was away, visiting a construction site. Clara recognized the handwriting immediately. William. She hesitated before opening it. Inside was a much shorter message. "I'm leaving for Canada in 3 weeks. This will be my final journey. Before I go, I'd like to see you one last time, only once, then I'll disappear from your life forever." There was a location written beneath. The old oak tree beside Mill Creek. Sunday, 5 o'clock. Clara folded the letter. She knew she should tear it apart. She knew she should tell Arthur everything. Instead, she hid the letter beside the first one beneath the loose floorboard. Sunday arrived. Arthur spent the afternoon helping repair the church roof after a storm. "I'll probably be late," he told Clara. "Don't wait for supper." She nodded quietly. At exactly 5 o'clock, Clara found herself walking toward Mill Creek. The old oak tree stood alone beside the slow-moving water. William was already waiting. Neither of them spoke for several moments. Finally, Clara broke the silence. "You shouldn't have asked me to come." "I know," William replied, "but if I left England without seeing you, I'd regret it for the rest of my life." The wind moved gently through the branches above them. William looked at the river. "I accepted the position in Canada. I leave in 3 weeks." Clara whispered, "So this is goodbye?" He nodded. "It has to be." They talked for nearly an hour, about nothing and everything. Their childhood dreams, Arthur, the future, the mistakes they had made. As the evening sun began disappearing behind the hills, William quietly asked, "If we had met before Arthur, do you think life would have been different?" Clara closed her eyes. "I don't know, and I don't think asking that question changes anything." William nodded sadly. "No, it doesn't." For a long moment, neither moved. Then, without thinking, they embraced. It lasted only several seconds, but they didn't realize someone standing on the hill above the river had seen them. An elderly shepherd paused beside his flock. From a distance, he couldn't recognize their faces, only that a man and a woman were holding each other beneath the old oak tree. He shrugged, turned away, and continued walking. Neither Clara nor William noticed him. As they finally stepped apart, William spoke softly. "This is the last time." Clara nodded. "It has to be." She turned and walked back toward Willowbrook without looking behind her. William remained beneath the oak tree until she disappeared. Both believed they had said their final goodbye. Neither knew that destiny had one more cruel surprise waiting, because the next letter William would send would not ask Clara to meet him, it would ask her to choose.
Autumn settled gently over Yorkshire. The trees surrounding Willowbrook turned shades of gold, amber, and deep crimson. Cold morning mist drifted across the fields, and the village prepared for another long English winter. Arthur Bennett had never been busier. The railway contract demanded almost every hour of his day. Some mornings he left before dawn. Some nights he returned long after the church bell struck 9. Yet no matter how tired he became, Arthur never came home empty-handed. One evening, it was Clara's favorite lavender soap from York. Another evening, it was a new shawl to keep her warm through winter. Sometimes it was nothing more than a single white rose he had picked beside the road. To Arthur, love was shown through small acts of care. He simply hoped Clara still felt it. One cold October afternoon, Arthur returned home carrying another surprise. "I have wonderful news," he announced with a smile. Clara looked up from her sewing. "What happened?" Arthur carefully unfolded another document. "The railway company wants us to move." She frowned slightly. "Move? They're opening a permanent workshop outside York. They've offered to buy us a larger house." He laughed happily. "Everything we've dreamed about is finally happening." Clara forced a smile. "That's wonderful." Arthur noticed something strange. "You don't sound excited." She quickly looked away. "I'm just surprised." Arthur sat beside her. "I know moving is frightening, but we'll face it together." He gently squeezed her hand. "As long as we're together, I don't care where we live." Those simple words nearly broke her heart. That same evening, after Arthur had fallen asleep, Clara quietly walked downstairs. She lifted the loose floorboard. Inside remained William's levers. She unfolded the newest one. At the bottom, something she hadn't noticed before was written in smaller handwriting. "If you decide to come with me, meet me at York Station on November 3rd. The train leaves at 8:15 in the morning. If you don't come, I'll never contact you again." Clara stared at those words until the candle burned low. It wasn't simply a letter anymore. It was a choice. The following week, William visited Willowbrook one final time before leaving England. He didn't go to the Bennett cottage. Instead, he stayed at the village inn. Arthur heard about it immediately. "We must invite him for supper," Arthur said. Clara remained silent. Arthur smiled. "It'll probably be years before we see him again." That evening, William joined them. The conversation was warm, almost cheerful. Arthur spoke about the new workshop. William congratulated him sincerely. "You've earned it." Arthur laughed. "I couldn't have done it without Clara." He looked lovingly at his wife. "She's been beside me through everything." William lowered his eyes. After supper, Arthur stepped outside to help a neighbor whose horse had thrown a shoe. "I'll be only a few minutes." The front door closed behind him. Silence filled the room. William looked at Clara. "The train leaves in 12 days," she whispered. "I know." "I won't ask again," he said quietly. "If you stay, I'll disappear forever. If you come, we begin a new life." Clara's breathing became heavier. "What if we're making the biggest mistake of our lives?"
William answered honestly, "We might be. And if I stay, you may spend the rest of your life wondering what could have been." Those words settled deeply inside her heart. Footsteps approached outside. Arthur returned, smiling. "The horse is fine." He looked at William. "I'll miss you, old friend." William forced a smile. "I'll miss you too." Arthur embraced him tightly. Neither man realized it might be the last time they would ever stand together as friends. Late that night, Clara stood alone beside the bedroom window. She looked toward the distant lights of York. Somewhere beyond those lights, a train would soon leave England, carrying William toward a completely different life. She placed one hand against the cold glass. Behind her, Arthur slept peacefully, trusting her completely, believing their future had never looked brighter. Clara closed her eyes. She only had 12 days left to decide. Would she remain with the man who loved her without condition, or leave everything behind for the uncertain promise of another life?
November arrived beneath cold gray skies. The trees around Willowbrook stood almost bare, their last golden leaves scattered across the damp village roads. Only 3 days remained before the train would leave York Station. 3 days, 72 hours. After that, William Carter would be gone forever. Every morning, Clara woke with the same question in her mind: stay or leave? She tried to keep herself busy. She cleaned the cottage, prepared meals, tended the garden one final time before winter. Yet no matter what she did, her thoughts always returned to the same place. Arthur noticed the change. "You've been worried lately," he said one evening while repairing a loose chair beside the fireplace. "Is something troubling you?" Clara forced a smile. "No, I'm simply tired." Arthur looked at her kindly. "Once we move to York, I promise life will be different. I won't work every hour. We'll travel. We'll spend more time together. I've learned that money isn't worth much if I don't have time with you." Those were the very words Clara had longed for nearly 2 years. Yet instead of bringing peace, they only deepened her guilt. 2 days later, Arthur surprised her once again. He arrived home carrying a small velvet box. "For you." Clara opened it carefully. Inside rested a beautiful gold wedding band. She looked at him in surprise. "Our anniversary is next week." Arthur smiled. "I wanted to give it to you early. I know the old ring has become worn." Clara stared silently at the new ring. Arthur gently removed the old one from her finger, then carefully placed the new ring in its place. "It fits perfectly," he whispered. Clara could no longer hold back her tears. Arthur smiled warmly. "Those are happy tears, aren't they?" She nodded. "Yes." It was the first lie she had ever spoken directly to his face. That night, she couldn't sleep. She walked quietly into the sitting room. The moonlight shone through the windows. She opened the loose floorboard. William's letters remained exactly where she had hidden them. Beside them, she placed the old wedding ring Arthur had just replaced. Then she sat alone until dawn. The next afternoon, another unexpected visitor arrived, Mrs. Margaret Ellis, Arthur's elderly aunt. She had helped raise him after his parents died. She embraced Clara warmly. "My dear, you look exhausted." Clara smiled weakly. "I haven't been sleeping well." Mrs. Ellis gently held her hands. "Arthur worries about you. He loves you more than anything." "I know," Clara whispered. The old woman smiled kindly.
When Arthur was only 12, he told me something I've never forgotten. Clara listened quietly. He said, "One day I'll marry someone I can trust with my whole heart." Mrs. Ellis looked toward the workshop where Arthur was working. "I think he found that person." Clara felt her heart break all over again. That evening, Arthur returned home covered in soot. But despite his exhaustion, he was smiling. "I've finished the railway contract," he announced proudly. "It's finally over." Clara looked up. "So, you'll be home now?" Arthur laughed. "Every evening. No more late nights, no more sleeping at work. Starting tomorrow, my life belongs to you again." Those words arrived exactly one day too late, because tomorrow was November 3rd, the day William's train would leave England. Long after Arthur had fallen asleep, Clara quietly stood beside the bed. She watched him sleeping peacefully. His face looked calm, safe, completely unaware that the woman he trusted most all was standing at the edge of a decision that could destroy everything he had ever built. She gently brushed a strand of hair away from her forehead, then whispered so softly that only the silence could hear her, "I'm sorry." Outside, the first snow of winter began falling over Willowbrook, and in a hotel room 20 miles away, William Carter packed the last of his belongings. Tomorrow morning, one of them would arrive at York Station, or one of them wouldn't. And by sunset, 3 lives would be changed forever.
The morning of November 3rd, 1892, arrived cold and silent. A thin layer of snow covered the rooftops of Willowbrook. Smoke rose gently from the chimneys as the village slowly awakened. Inside the Bennett cottage, Arthur was already in the kitchen preparing breakfast. He rarely cooked, but today was different. When Clara walked downstairs, she smiled in surprise. "You made breakfast?" Arthur laughed. "I wanted to surprise you." On the table sat warm bread, fresh butter, eggs, and a small vase holding a single white rose. Arthur pulled out her chair. "Sit." She obeyed quietly. After breakfast, Arthur reached into his coat pocket. "I have one more surprise." He handed her a folded document. Clara opened it. Her eyes widened. 2 railway tickets. York to London. "For next month," Arthur said proudly. "I've finally kept my promise. We'll spend Christmas in London. We'll visit the museums, the theaters, the Christmas markets. We'll stay for a whole week." His face shone with excitement. "I've already reserved everything." Clara stared at the tickets, the dream she had spoken about years ago. Arthur had never forgotten. He had simply been working every day to make it real. Tears filled her eyes. Arthur smiled. "I knew you'd be happy." She hugged him tightly, longer than ever before. Arthur laughed softly. "I can't breathe." She stepped back quickly. "I'm sorry." He gently kissed her forehead. "I'll only be at the workshop until noon. When I return, we'll celebrate." He picked up his coat. "I love you," Clara whispered. "I love you too." The front door closed behind him. Silence filled the cottage. She slowly looked toward the clock on the wall. 8 a.m. William's train would leave York Station at 8:15. If she wanted to go, she had to leave immediately. Her suitcase already stood hidden beneath the bed, packed days earlier. She carried it downstairs, placed it beside the front door, then looked around the cottage. The fireplace, the piano, the wedding photograph, the rose Arthur had left on the table. Every corner of the house held a memory. She picked up the photograph. Arthur was smiling exactly as he had on their wedding day. She whispered, "You deserved someone better." For several minutes, she stood completely still. Then she reached for the suitcase, opened the front door, and stepped outside. Snowflakes drifted gently through the air. The road leading toward York stretched before her. She began walking. Each step felt heavier than the last. At the end of the lane, she stopped. She turned around. The cottage stood quietly beneath the falling snow. Smoke still rose from the chimney. Arthur believed she was waiting safely at home, trusting her, loving her, planning their Christmas together. Clara closed her eyes. A single tear rolled down her face. Then she turned back toward the road and continued walking. Nearly an hour later, York Station bustled with passengers. Steam hissed from the waiting locomotive. Porters loaded luggage. Conductors shouted final instructions. William stood beside the train holding a leather suitcase. His eyes searched every face entering the station. The large clock above Platform 2 showed 8:10 a.m. 5 minutes remained. Passengers continued boarding. William checked the entrance again. Nothing. He looked at the clock. 8:12. Still no Clara. A station guard called, "Final boarding!" William slowly lowered his head. Perhaps she had chosen Arthur. Perhaps that was how the story should end. He quietly climbed aboard the train. The whistle echoed across the station. The engine slowly began to move. William looked one final time through the window. Then, just as the train started leaving the platform, he saw someone running through the crowd. A woman wearing a dark blue coat, carrying a small leather suitcase. Clara. Their eyes met across the platform. William froze. The train gathered speed. Clara stopped running. She stood perfectly still. Neither spoke, neither smiled. For one long, heartbreaking moment, they simply looked at one another. Then, Clara slowly shook her head. "No," she whispered. William understood. He placed one hand against the train window, then quietly nodded. The train disappeared into the snowy distance. Clara remained standing on the platform, alone, crying, believing she had made the right choice. But when she finally returned to Willowbrook that afternoon, she found the front door of the cottage standing wide open, and Arthur Bennett was nowhere to be found.
Clara dropped her suitcase onto the front porch. The front door swayed gently in the cold afternoon wind. It had never been left open before. Arthur was careful with everything, especially their home. "Arthur?" she called softly. No answer. She stepped inside. The fire in the fireplace had almost burned out. Arthur's coat was hanging beside the door. His favorite hat rested on the table. The breakfast dishes remained exactly where she had left them. Everything looked ordinary, except Arthur was gone. A strange feeling settled in her chest. She searched every room, the bedroom, the workshop, the garden, the stable. Nothing. She hurried across the village. The blacksmith shop stood open. The forge had gone cold. Old Mr. Thompson, the baker, noticed her running. "Looking for Arthur?" Clara nodded. "Have you seen him?" The old baker removed his cap. "He left around noon. He seemed different." "What do you mean?" He wasn't smiling. Clara felt her heartbeat quicken. She thanked him and continued searching. Outside the church, she found young Daniel, the stable boy. "Daniel, did you see Mr. Bennett today?" The boy nodded. "Yes, ma'am. He rode toward York." Her face turned pale. "York?" "Yes. He looked like he was in a hurry." The world around Clara suddenly felt silent. Only one thought echoed in her mind. York Station. Had Arthur gone there? Had she seen him? Had someone told him? Without another word, Clara borrowed a horse from a nearby farm and rode toward the city as fast as she could. The cold wind stung her face. Snowflakes blurred her vision. She prayed over and over, "Please let me be wrong."
When she finally reached York Station, the platform was nearly empty. The train had long since departed. Porters swept the platform. Passengers had gone. Only a gray-haired station master remained. Clara approached him. "Excuse me, did you happen to see a man, about 33, dark hair, blacksmith?" The station master thought for a moment. "Yes, I believe so. He arrived shortly before the train left." Clara's knees almost gave way. What happened?" The old man answered quietly. "He wasn't looking for the train. He was looking for someone." Clara could barely breathe. "He stood over there." The station master pointed toward the end of the platform. "He watched a woman running toward the train." Clara closed her eyes. She already knew. "He didn't say anything," the station master continued. "He simply stood there. When the train left, he took something from his pocket, a small velvet box, the sort that holds a wedding ring. He looked at it for a long time. Then, he quietly placed it on the bench and walked away." Clara covered her mouth. Inside the velvet box was the gold anniversary ring Arthur had given her only yesterday. She hurried to the bench. The box was still there, untouched. Inside rested a small folded note. Her hands shook as she opened it. Arthur's familiar handwriting filled the page. "My dearest Clara, I wasn't looking for proof. I was only bringing you the train tickets. Then I saw you running. I watched you stop. I watched you choose. Not another man, but another life." Tears blurred every word. She continued reading. "I don't know how long this has been happening. Perhaps weeks, perhaps months. The truth no longer matters, because the woman I married would never have looked at someone else the way you looked at him today." Clara collapsed on the bench, crying silently. The final lines were stained as though Arthur himself had struggled to finish writing them. "I won't chase you. I won't hate you. And I won't stand in the way of the life you've chosen. I only hope that one day you never experience the pain you've given me today. Goodbye, Arthur." The letter slipped from Clara's hands. The station master quietly turned away, giving her privacy. Outside, the first snow continued falling over York. Somewhere beyond the horizon, William's train disappeared into the distance. And somewhere else, Arthur Bennett walked alone down an empty country road, with nothing but the clothes on his back and a heart that had just been broken forever.
Winter passed slowly over Yorkshire. Snow melted into spring rain, and spring gave way to another quiet summer. The village of Willowbrook slowly returned to its ordinary rhythm. People continued living. Children laughed in the streets. The church bell rang every Sunday. The forge at the old blacksmith shop was lit once again. But Arthur Bennett was no longer the man everyone remembered. For several months after leaving York Station, he had disappeared completely. No one knew where he had gone. Some believed he had moved to Scotland. Others thought he had sailed to Australia. Only Arthur knew the truth. He had spent months traveling alone across England, not because he was searching for Clara, but because he was trying to understand how a heart so full of love could survive such a deep betrayal. Eventually, he returned to Willowbrook. He reopened his blacksmith shop. He worked quietly, spoke little. Yet one thing never changed: his kindness.
He still repaired farming tools for widows without charging them. He still made horseshoes for struggling farmers at half price. He still greeted every customer with the same gentle smile. The pain had changed him, but it had not made him bitter. Meanwhile, Clara's life had taken a very different path. After reading Arthur's letter at York Station, she never boarded another train. She never followed William to Canada. Instead, she returned home, carrying nothing but regret. When she reached the cottage, it was empty. Arthur had taken only a small travel bag. Everything else remained. His tools, his books, his clothes, even the Christmas tickets to London were still lying on the table. She spent several weeks waiting, hoping he would return. He never did. At last, she packed her belongings and moved to a small rented room in York. She found work as a seamstress. The luxurious dreams that had once filled her imagination disappeared. Life became simple, quiet, lonely. Years passed. A rainy afternoon, nearly 7 years later, Clara received unexpected news. Mrs. Margaret Ellis, Arthur's elderly aunt, had passed away peacefully. Inside her will, she had left Clara a small wooden box. Confused, she opened it. Inside rested only 3 things: the old silver necklace Arthur had bought during their first year of marriage, a faded photograph from their wedding day, and one sealed envelope. Across the front, written in Arthur's careful handwriting, were the words, "To Clara, only if life ever teaches you what love truly means." Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside was a short letter. "Clara, if you're reading this, then enough time has probably passed for anger to become memory. I forgave you long ago. Not because what happened was small, but because I refused to spend the rest of my life carrying hatred. You once asked me what real love looked like. I never answered. Perhaps now I can. Real love isn't measured by how tightly we hold someone. It's measured by whether we choose kindness even after we've been hurt. I truly hope you found peace, and I hope one day you'll forgive yourself. Goodbye, Arthur." Clara held the letter against her chest and cried harder than she ever had before. Not because Arthur had rejected her, not because she had lost him, but because even after everything, he had chosen forgiveness over revenge. Months later, Clara visited Willowbrook one final time. She quietly walked to the old blacksmith shop. Arthur was there. His hair had turned gray, his hands were older, but his gentle smile remained. Their eyes met. Neither spoke, neither needed to. After a long moment, Clara whispered, "I'm sorry." Arthur looked at her with calm eyes. "I know." There was no anger, no bitterness, only acceptance. Clara nodded through tears, then she quietly turned and walked away. Arthur watched her disappear down the same village road where they had once walked together as newlyweds. He did not call her back. Some stories are not meant to begin again. Some doors, once closed, should remain closed. Arthur returned to his forge. The sound of hammers striking hot iron echoed through Willowbrook once more. Life continued, and although betrayal had broken his heart, it never stole his character. In the end, Arthur Bennett lost the woman he loved, but he never lost the kindness that defined him. And sometimes, that is the greatest victory a person can ever achieve. The end.